Alright, so in the last tutorial, we added new data, and the new data did not, as a matter of fact, it's not updating even after we did the refresh. So come to analyze, refresh, and refresh all. So we're supposed to have woman in gold and woman in gold 2. But as you can see, we only have the woman in black and woman in gold. And I explained the problem was because we created the pivot table from a range, not from a table. So how do we solve that? In the case where we have to work with new data. So coming back to the raw data, and I'm going to delete this so that it won't be part of our table, just so we have everything working as it should. So what we'll do is select, remember how to select the range, Control Shift, right arrow key, that selects to the end, hold down Control and Shift with your down arrow key, that selects everything. So while we've selected this, for now, this is still a range. What we're going to do is come to Format as Table. When you click Format as Table, you can pick any of this design. It doesn't really matter. So pick anything you like. It doesn't really matter. So make sure you have this button checked that says my table has headers, and say OK to that. Now, once you do that, your table will look something like this. Right now, you have a table. And on this side of the screen, you have an option that says table name. So you can give your table a name, a customized name. Now, this table I will call movies. Right, and that's the table name. So I'm going to go ahead and create another pivot table. I'm going to go ahead and create another pivot table. Now, so what I'm going to do, I'll just go ahead to insert, and this time around, I'm not selecting the range. I'm going to go ahead and insert and say insert a pivot table. Now you can see I have this title here, movies, because Excel is recognizing that indeed there is a table, and the name of that table is movies. So for practice, you can try different tables. You can create multiple tables and test them out. Again, I can create to a new worksheet or an existing worksheet, and I can pick the name of my worksheet, which is pivot. As a matter of fact, no, I will create that to a new worksheet, so I don't have to worry about that worksheet no more. So go ahead and say OK. And now we have a new work. So this is, I'll name this table sheet. So this is the pivot table we created from a table, and this is the pivot table we created from a range. Now, the reason why I want to have both of them side by side is because we've seen in this case that we added new data. Remember, both of them are sharing the same data source. So practically, I will show you what I mean. So back to the new data, new pivot table. I'll bring the title to rows again, and then I will sort for the movie woman in gold. I just want this movie. So uncheck select all search results. I only want this one. And we'll get the gross revenue for that movie. Let's still working with budget. Let's be consistent and get the budget for that movie. Alright, so here's the budget. I will go to my pivot and do the same. This was the one I created with a range. So I will search for woman. Alright, so that's it. Uncheck all. I just want this. And again, we're still going to get the budget. So the same amount on the two sheets. So this sheet came from range. Call this the range pivot and call this the table pivot. Alright, this is the range pivot, this is the table pivot. So I'm going to zoom in so you see everything clearly as it happens. Now I'll look for that movie titled Woman in Gold, which is the last movie. I'm going to find the budget again, and once again I'll make it 0. So it's going to be a very obvious change. Come to the range table and analyze, refresh. See, it updates. Cool. Remember, they are both sharing the same data source. So the moment I update that change and refresh for both of them, we've seen it in practice that they both update to 0. So I will do that. I will undo that. I will undo that. I'm not sure how much was there. Let's just say 11 million. Just put a number. So I can't remember exactly how much was there. And come back to analyze, refresh, see the value updates, and do the same thing here, analyze, refresh, the value updates. So it updates in both tables. Now let's look at adding new data. So select the bottom, remember Control Shift, right arrow key, or let's do it that way, Control Shift, left arrow key, and click and drag. Okay, so let's get back to the name and update the name on this new sheet. Remember, we've added new data too, right? So we've now added new data. Back to this, I'm going to go ahead and analyze and refresh. Nothing has happened. So if I come to sort and I look for woman in gold, all right, so it updates here. We have it here, and in the table pivots, if I search for woman, oh, I think I switched the both of them. I named them wrongly. This should be, sorry about that, this should be the table pivot, and this should be the range pivot. So this is the range pivot. So in the range pivot, even with refreshing and searching for the movie, oh, it's here too. Not sure why it's appearing automatically. So woman in gold too, and we have that data, and we also have woman in gold and woman in gold too. So this is the power of, I wasn't expecting it to happen this way, honestly. From my experience, I know that once you've created once you create the table like that, we will usually have to change data source. So that's what this option is for, change data source. So change data source allows you to readjust your range. That was the option I was going to look at, but you can see that with the power of creating a pivot table out of a table, a pivot table from an already existing table in Excel, it's dynamic. So if I go back and I delete that movie, so let's delete that name, this entire row, select it and delete it, come back here and analyze, refresh. So you can see it's very dynamic. It has deleted that record. And if we refresh here, it's dynamic, it's deleted the record. So adding new data when you are dealing with a table is very dynamic. You can add the data, you can remove data as you please. There's no limit to it as compared to creating from a range. So it's always better that you create your pivot table from a table. You first of all format as table, and then you create the pivot table from what you formatted as a table. In the next video, we'll look at we'll dive into the analyze tool in Excel in the pivot table. We'll dive into the analyze and design tool, and we'll see the power of those tools. Thanks for watching this video to the end. See you in the next.